Okay, because we're going to go ahead and get this background where I'm happy with it, I'm going to go in again with this darks. And this is how I build my paintings. I do it gently and carefully. Leave a bead right there so you don't get a hard edge there. Get back in here with that more detailed brush. Switching back to I paint primarily with quill brushes now. I still use a lot of different brushes, but I want to get that away from that, from his beak. So do that. Pushing these darks really dark here. But I find that for my, it helps me to be looser if I use a quill big brush like this, because I tend to be a tight painter. So it just helps me to not be so tight in my paintings if I use the biggest brushes that I can manage. Okay, I'm going to go back in there because I've got a line there I don't like. Anywhere that it's catching, just soften it. Bring it on down in there. I like these darks that are building down in between these reeds here. Okay, just cleaning my brush and softening all this, keeping that light there. Okay, and I like how this migrates up into these, where the masking fluid almost blocks it. Gives this really nice, deep effect. So anytime I want that look, I'm going to dry it upside down. I can soften it if it's too severe. With a brush or with my finger works the best. Okay. And you're really saturating this paper. If you're not using good quality paper, you're not gonna you're gonna fight this the whole time. I end up going back to Arches paper every time I try different papers. I tried that bow hung paper, which is really, the texture's lovely, but it absorbs so much water that I find it hard to get the looks I want. So, and normally I let my paintings dry between layers. I don't dry them with a hairdryer. If I'm doing a video like this, I probably will dry it with a hairdryer. And in my classes we do, because it just would take us forever otherwise. So we're just going to kind of let that dry and see what happens in there. Now let's go into the boat. And we've got a similar situation with the boat. Because the boat isn't a large background, I'm not going to use this quill brush on the boat. I'm going to use a smaller one. I have a smaller quill. This is a Raphael number 0 Aqua. I go on in with my, I know there's a lot of sunlight hitting the boat on this far side under here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in where I see it in my painting. I love all these shades of green. It's a really good exercise in learning to control your greens. It's almost like this is algae that's collected on the boat itself. So I'm just kind of putting that in some places. And we may go over it. It may not stay there, but it might. Just in some of these lighter areas. Now that's dry. I didn't pre-wet that. Once I am past the initial background, I don't generally pre-wet everything unless I'm really needing a really soft edge. So I'm going right into these darker colors here where I know the shadow of the boat is going to be much darker. Establishing those. Most of the dark's right here in shadow. The sunlight is coming pretty much straight down onto this boat, so I know this is dark here. This is all dark. This is darker up here. It's very dark under here. Start establishing these darks early on. Really will help you. It's always darker under the lap siding of the lap, I guess it's lap board. I don't know what you call this stuff. Anyway, underneath here, there's going to be a shadow. And this shadow of the boat comes right down here. So I'm going to go ahead and establish my shadow of the boat. And remember, I've saved my whites, so we're fine there. This is a shadow. So we'll start building that shadow there. Not making that so severe. Okay, smoothing all this out. Giving it some dry brush texture. Because it's an old boat that's been out in the sun, so I just want to keep it nice and soft there. All right. I just realized that I put the green up here, and it should be the burnt sienna. So that's an easy fix. We'll just go right over that and build that burnt sienna right over that green. Okay. And there's quite a bit of a really dark shadow in here. It's a really lovely blue-green that we want to drop in early on here. It's almost violet up under there. In the photograph, it looks more like a violet. But for our purposes, we may add some violet to it. This is dark under here. And this part of the boat is lighter, so we'll just use clear water here. Any place you just need to keep, you don't want a hard line, you just need to go back with clear water. And because I want this to look correct, I'm going to dry it like this. I go back in with that dark, some more Payne's gray, in that green. Make the shadow nice and dark under here. All right. So that's very wet. We can go up in here into our initial washes of the burnt sienna and just lay in everything that is burnt sienna in here. These little architectural parts of the boat are what make it so interesting. So it's important to get those in early on. And this is all really dark in here, so we'll go ahead and lay that in. There's a dark shadow under that. And there's a dark shadow. I think this comes on down here. Maybe across there like that. It's going to leave this as a bench right here, basically. Or a seat, I guess. So we'll just kind of soften all that. Let's get that smoothed out a little bit. And let's put that dark right in here. We know this is going to be really dark, so we'll suggest that in these areas. There's a tiny little dark place there. So this is just our underwash. And because this boat is old and weathered, and particularly the wood is weathered, we're gonna blot it, give it that old texture. Soften this along here. Soften in all this. We don't want it too severe. Just soften it. If you get it too harsh, just go back and soften and blot some of it off. And we can go over that. That's actually covered in masking fluid, so that's fine. So give us that kind of old wood texture here. Worn, that worn wood look. Basically going over the green with the burnt sienna. Gives it that nice mottled look. And a little over here. When you're in these small areas, paint with the tip of your brush. Okay. So we pretty much laid that in. I need to have this blue. I need a mixture of a gray in here. So if I take some of my blue, mix it with my burnt sienna, I can get pretty much a gray for this right here. For that little area. Okay. It's a little more purple on our boat, but that's okay. We're going to correct that. We're going to get that more purple. And I'm laying in this dark right here, just to remind me that it's all dark. I'm not sure. Nope, that isn't dark. So let's blot that. Okay, so it's under here. And while that's drying, I'm going to go back in, push my dark background again. Back here. I think we'll start this on this side this time, just to do something different. Use your smaller brush if you need to. Get in these areas. The darker the background, the more exciting this boat is going to look. That's why I'm pushing these backgrounds so dark. I think I'm going to let it be darker all the way up this time. See what happens. Until we get to the very... Actually, I think I'll just lay the dark in the whole way. Then put the yellow right in there with it. Actually, Payne's Gray and Lemon Yellow makes a very nice dark green because Payne's Gray has a lot of blue in it. So there's another layer of that. What's going to happen when we dry this is these lighter reeds are going to be more this color, so it's going to help pop out those that background. Okay. So let's flip it over again. I think I might do another layer of that very nice green mixture. So the way we got that was with the lemon yellow and the phthalo blue. And a little white. I don't often use white, but sometimes I do. To get this, some colors you just cannot get any other way, so that's that color right there. Okay. If you don't like it, just lighten it. It reminds me of algae, which is what I think is really cool, because you see in these shaded areas, especially in this kind of environment, you see this algae water, which is just so neat. And back here, just making it a little more colorful. And put some in here so that it all blends together. Okay, and we'll see how that dries.